without warning. I found my daughter shivering outside at 32 degrees Fahrenheit. No blanket to keep her warm. My son-in-law's family was laughing, toasting with champagne by the fireplace. I kicked the door open, holding my daughter in my arms, and said 6 words. I'm glad you're here. If you're watching this video, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments where you're hearing my revenge story from. I want to know how far it's reached. I stepped out of the taxi, my heavy boots crunching into the thick snow outside my daughter's house in Boise, Idaho. The icy wind slapped my face like a frozen towel, making me yank up the collar of my coat. After years as a Taekwondo coach, I figured I could handle any challenge, from the sweltering heat of the dojo to the harshest winters. But this Christmas Eve chill cut right through me. I stood in front of the warmly lit house, a swirl of excitement and nerves twisting in my gut. Today, I wanted to surprise Emily. I wanted to see my little girl's face light up when her mom showed up out of nowhere. After so many months away, the front yard was buried under snow. Not a single footprint breaking the white blanket, like nobody gave a damn to shovel it. Through the big picture window, I could see the cozy glow spilling out from the living room, where cheerful Christmas music blared from a Bluetooth speaker. Jingle bells, Emily's favorite since she was a kid, floated through the air. I crept closer, peering inside. A long table covered in a bright red cloth stretched out, loaded with all the classics. A golden roasted turkey, steaming cornbread stuffing, a bowl of cranberry salad dotted with apple chunks and raisins, and glasses of red wine catching the light. The Whitlock family, my son-in-law Ryan's folks, was there in full force. I spotted Mr. Harold Whitlock, Ryan's dad, sitting like he owned the world, and Mrs. Evelyn Whitlock, his mom, clutching a wine glass with that smug grin plastered on her face. Ryan's sister Abigail was there too, her 2 kids giggling nonstop. They were all raising their glasses, toasting by the crackling fireplace. But where the hell was Emily? I squinted, trying to spot her in some corner. I'd imagined her smiling, chatting away like old times, wrapping her arms around my neck and spilling stories. Then I heard it, a faint whimper from the porch. I spun around, and my heart slammed to a stop. Under the dim porch light, next to a snow-dusted poinsettia planter, Emily was curled up in an old wooden chair. She had on just a thin blouse, her skinny shoulders shaking like a leaf. Her messy hair stuck to her forehead from melted snow. I bolted over, my pulse thundering. "Emily," I yelled, my voice cracking. I ripped off my coaching jacket and wrapped it around her, my hands shaking as I touched her arm. It was like ice, no life in it. Emily lifted her head, eyes red-rimmed, lips barely moving. "Mom." Her voice was so weak it almost vanished into the wind, and she slumped against my shoulder. I held her tight, feeling her body tremble like a scared bird. I'm here, baby. I'm right here, I whispered, trying to keep it together even as tears stung my eyes. I grabbed an extra sweater from my bag and bundled her up, sharing what warmth I could. I scooped her into my arms, her soaked slippers plopping into the snow, leaving a sloppy trail. I cradled her close, her faint breath tickling my neck. All I wanted was to get her the hell out of there, away from the cold, away from whatever nightmare had put her in this state. But inside the house, the laughter rolled on, oblivious and vicious. I heard Ryan's deep voice, all cocky and full of himself, bragging about God knows what. The table erupted in chuckles, glasses clinking like some twisted symphony. They were warm and happy by the fire, while my daughter, my blood, was out here freezing like she didn't belong in her own damn home. Just a few hours earlier, I'd been at Boise Airport, still sweaty from a week coaching the national taekwondo team. The dojo heat clung to me even in the chilly terminal. I lugged my beat-up suitcase, buzzing with anticipation, picturing Emily's grin when I popped up unannounced on Christmas Eve. My heart raced. She'd always been my sunshine, from the toddler days when she'd cling to my legs begging for one more story, to the young woman whose smile could erase my roughest days. But my job kept me on the road Seattle, tournaments, stealing time with her. Every goodbye, I'd tell myself, one more event, then I'll stay put. Now here I was, ready for a Christmas reunion that'd knock her socks off. I plopped down in the airport waiting area for the quick drive to the Boise suburbs, pulling out my phone to call Emily. I needed to hear her voice, confirm she was home. It rang and rang, each tone knotting my stomach tighter. No pickup. I frowned. Maybe she was knee-deep in prepping dinner with the Whitlocks. I tried again, then a third time. Zilch. Unease crept in like spilled ink. I texted, "Mom's on her way. You home?" Stared at the screen for that little checkmark. Nada. I shook it off, figuring she'd misplaced her phone or was busy decking the halls like every year. The plane touched down after dark. I hauled my suitcase out, the winter night slamming into me like a brick wall. Families hugged, laughed, heading to midnight mass. A dad hoisted his little girl on his shoulders. She waved a candy cane, giggling. I watched, throat tight. I'd carried Emily like that once, holding her hand through twinkling streets. Now I was solo, dragging luggage, feeling that gut-wrenching loneliness. I hailed a cab, voice rough from fatigue. Meadow Creek, 12th Street. Traffic crawled, streets jammed with folks in coats and scarves en route to church. I stared out at glowing house lights. Church bells tolled faintly, blending with a choir crooning. Silent night. I smiled, imagining Emily in the kitchen, mashing potatoes from my old recipe. At a red light, I spotted traffic cops. One was Jake, a former student from my community center taekwondo days. He stood tall in uniform, same kind smile. I rolled down the window. "Jake," he turned, eyes lighting up. "Miss Rose, you're back in town," I grinned, masking my weariness. "Just wrapped Seattle training. You still patrolling Boise?" He nodded. "Yup, traffic duty. Here for Christmas with the family." "With Emily," I said, warmth flooding at her name. But Jake's smile dropped like a stone. A shadow crossed his face, like he had bad news but couldn't spill. My gut twisted. "What's up, Jake?" "Something wrong?" He shook his head, forcing a grin. Nothing, Miss Rose. Just good to see you." But his eyes screamed worry. I wanted to grill him, but the light flipped green. The cab lurched forward, Jake watching me go, hand gripping his cap. As we neared Emily's place, I told the driver to pull over short of the gate. Wanted that surprise factor. I grabbed my suitcase, trudging through snow, boots carving deep prints. Golden lights from neighboring houses flickered like candles. From afar, guitar strums and singing drifted from Emily's living room. I smiled, picturing her belting Winter Wonderland, like when she was little. I ditched the suitcase on the step, took a deep breath, ready to knock. But a mocking laugh sliced the air like a blade. I froze, hand midair. Mr. Harold Whitlock's gruff voice boomed. "That's what you call a daughter-in-law. Can't even pop out a kid. 4 miscarriages. Talk about embarrassing the family name." His chuckle dripped venom. Then Ryan's voice, icy and sharp, always pulling that depression crap, holing up in her room doing jack squat. If it weren't for Mom and Dad, I'd have booted her ass out months ago. Laughter exploded, glasses clinking. Abigail piped up, venom lacing her tone. "Yeah, total dead weight. A wife who can't have babies. What's the point? Faking sick to get bobbied pathetic." Each word stabbed like a knife. I stood paralyzed, breath stuck. This was how they treated my Emily, the girl who dreamed of a happy home, slaving over meals for her husband. 4 miscarriages, each one leaving her in pieces during our late-night calls. And they called it faking. My fists clenched, nails biting palms. That's when I saw her, Emily curled in that chair on the porch, thin blouse, head down, shaking in the freeze. Tears blurred my vision. My heart shattered. I scooped her up, her body still icy. My hands shook, not just from the Boise cold, but the fury boiling inside. Each step to the door felt like dragging lead. I pounded hard, knocks drowning the Christmas tunes. Jingle bells looped mockingly. No answer. I gritted my teeth, banged louder like I could splinter the wood. Finally, the door creaked open. Evelyn stood there, wine glass teetering, lips smeared red. Alcohol reeked off her, but she plastered on a fake smile. "Well, Miss Rose, what a surprise," she drawled, voice syrupy but sharp. "Why didn't you call? We could have rolled out the welcome mat." I glared, not hiding my rage. "Call, so I wouldn't catch this shit show. What the hell did you do to my daughter?" I clutched Emily tighter, her breath a faint reminder I wouldn't back down. Evelyn arched a brow, eyeing Emily like she was a nuisance. Oh, she just wanted some fresh air, she said, tone dripping disdain. Don't blow it out of proportion. It's Christmas, come on in. Don't freeze your butt off. Fresh air. In a damn blouse. Before I could snap back, Ryan loomed behind her, shirt half unbuttoned, bottle in hand, defiant stare. Mom, shut the door, he sneered, chin jutted. Let her stew out there till she snaps out of it. Who crashes Christmas dinner, playing the fragile card to skip helping? He chuckled like it was hilarious. Those words twisted the knife, not just in me, but Emily. She shrank in my arms. From the table, Abigail's voice cut sharp. Spot on. Can't even carry a baby. Useless as tits on a bowl. Laughter mixed with murmurs. Abigail's kids scampered out, staring at Emily, giggling. Aunt Emily's in trouble, they whispered. Innocent voices, but salt in the wound. My face burned. I shouldered the door, then kicked it wide. It slammed the wall, silencing everything. Evelyn's wine splashed red on the rug. Music cut off like unplugged. Air thickened, oxygen gone. I marched in, Emily in arms, snow melting in angry puddles on the floor. Eyes bored into me, Harold cold. Evelyn's smile vanished, Abigail sneering. Shock and annoyance rippled. I eased Emily onto the couch, draping my scarf over her. Her hands were still frozen, trembling. I knelt, meeting her eyes, willing her my strength, though inside I was a tornado. The room glowed, fireplace crackling. Attention coiled like a spring. Ryan stepped up, face flushed from booze, eyes smug. You don't get to storm in here making scenes, Rose, he growled, emphasizing my house like I was dirt. Hand on hip, shirt sloppy, but uncertainty flickered in his gaze. I shot up, finger in his face. Oh yeah, and you think you can toss my daughter out in the cold like garbage? Let her freeze her ass off. That's your idea of a husband? Of family? I scanned the feast, turkey steaming, stuffing piled, wine sparkling, mocking her pain. Harold rose slowly, adjusting his jacket, voice booming. Enough, Ms. Rose. This is family business. A woman who can't have kids gotta toughen up. That's life. His words hammered me. I locked eyes with the ex-judge, seeing his control freak arrogance. Wrong day, buddy. I eyed the table, then Emily's faint stomach growl. Couldn't hold back. So you pig out while my girl's out in 32 degrees. No coat, no food. That's your tradition. That's humane. Evelyn shrugged, smile icy. A barren woman. Feeding her's just throwing good money after bad, she said softly, sipping wine like she didn't give a damn. Abigail jumped in, acid tone. Your kid uses that depression excuse to slack off. Ever cooked a decent meal? Nah, just whines in bed, dragging us all down. Murmurs grew, heads shaking, snickers agreeing. I wanted to flip the table, but Emily stirred, voice faint. I'm so tired. No one gets it. Ryan barked, shut your trap. You've embarrassed me plenty. He advanced, gaze shattering her. I blocked him, memories flooding. Emily's calls, sobbing over miscarriages, dreams crushed. I trusted Ryan, but he was a bully. Through the window, Jake on the porch, fist clenched, he'd heard. I nodded subtly, no intervention yet. His presence was hope. Ryan pointed. Warning you, this is my turf. Butt out, or it gets uglier. He smirked, thinking I'd fold. Wrong. Fists cracked. Air electric. I met his eyes, voice low. Threaten me. Hurt my daughter scot-free. You're dead wrong. I'm done letting this slide. I turned to them all. You'll pay for what you've done to Emily. Silence fell like a bomb. I touched Emily's shoulder, voice steady. This ain't private anymore. This is abuse. Evelyn laughed mockingly, swirling wine. Abuse? We're just putting her in her place. Thank us for tolerating her this long. Ryan spat, eyes blazing, faking depression to lounge around. No hits, just fed up with her laziness. He paused, twisted grin. Teach her better, Rose. No one loses 4 pregnancies unless they want to. Razor words. Emily gasped. 4 times she'd called broken, now accused of sabotage. Fist tight, palm bleeding. I yanked my phone. Calling the cops. Filing a report. You'll face the law. Ryan froze, bottle crashing, wine staining. You wouldn't, voice cracked. Harold stepped up, tie straight. You don't know who you're messing with, Rose. I've judged scum for years. A call won't scare us. Abigail smirked. Call away. See who they believe, a nutty old broad or us pillars of society. Emily tugged my sleeve, whispering, Mom, don't. I want peace. Heart aching, I squeezed her hand. No fear, I'll protect you. I lifted her, snow dropping like broken dreams. Ignored their glares. Out the door, Jake ready on radio. Nodded he had my back. I took Emily to my apartment near the training center. Simple. Old couch, kitchen nook, family photos. Safe. Laid her on the bed, still shivering. Fetched a sweater, made hot cocoa. Drink up, sweetie. But she stared, empty-eyed. Phone rang Jake. Filed the report, Ms. Rose. Whitlock's gut pull won't be easy. I'll testify. Help prep Jake. On it, coach. Next morning, therapist in Boise. Dr. Linda Carter, kind eyes. Severe depression from miscarriages and insults. Needs rest, safety. Heart twisted. Blamed myself. That afternoon, Jake dropped fruit, cookbooks. Heard you like cooking. Start small, pie, soup, Emily murmured, thanks, but I can't anymore. Jake nodded, no push. Night, papers around. Envelope slid under door. Back off Whitlock's or end up like your kid. Quit. Crumpled it, rage fueling. Organized proof, transfers, messages. Trusted Ryan, but he squandered, dismissed her. Emily woke, scared. Mom, they'll hurt you, hugged her. I'll shield you, promise, called lawyer friend. Whitlock's connected. Long haul, I'm in. Weeks prepping, receipts, reports. Nightmare. Trial day, courthouse cold. Held Emily's trembling hand. She looked defeated. Whitlock's early. Ryan suited, smug, Harold sharp. Evelyn, Abigail whispering scorn. Jake, in uniform, nodded support. Trial started. Our lawyer James presented transfers, records, emotionally destroyed by abuse. Whitlock lawyers countered, faking for coddling, gave her everything she failed as wife. Housekeeper Martha, lazy, locked away. I did all work, I jumped up. Liar Emily slaved, judge gavelled. Silence. Harold smiled at judge connections. James played recording. Ryan, faking to dodge duties. Evelyn, barren. Useless, Abigail, can't birth waste. Silence. But objection, illegal recording. Inadmissible, ground swallowed me. Week later, verdict. Divorce granted. No abuse recognized. Assets to Ryan. Unfair. I yelled, this ain't justice. Guard warned. Ryan whispered, told ya, old woman. Jake surged, fist ready. Emily clung. Don't, no violence. Room hushed. Tears. Whitlock's laughed. But media stirred. Headlines. Whitlock injustice. Video viral. Public backlash cracked their facade. Emily with me, healing slow. Breakfasts, talks. Jake visited, keychain gift. Start small. Evening, Emily to Jake. I may never have kids. He. You're enough, my family, Easter, square walks. Smiles returned. Justice of heart won. On Easter morning, the first rays of sunlight filtered through the thin curtains of my modest apartment in Boise, Idaho, painting the room in soft pastels. The air smelled of fresh coffee and pancakes sizzling on the griddle. A simple spread I'd whipped up to mark the day. Maple syrup drizzled over fluffy stacks. A bowl of strawberries glowing red like little jewels. And a vase of daffodils I'd picked up from the market the day before. Emily sat at the table, her hair pulled back in a messy bun, wearing a light sweater that hung loosely on her frame. She was still too thin from the stress, but there was a spark in her eyes that hadn't been there since before that fateful Christmas Eve. She poked at her pancake with a fork, but a small smile tugged at her lips. Mom, these are amazing, she said, her voice quiet but warm. Just like when I was a kid, you always added that extra dash of vanilla, your secret weapon. I laughed, sliding a mug of coffee her way. Damn straight. Some recipes are sacred, kiddo. And look at you yesterday in the square, laughing at those kids by the fountain. Felt like old times, didn't it? She nodded, gazing out the window where the city was waking up. Church bells tolled in the distance. Families in their Easter finery heading to services. The square had been alive with color, baskets of eggs, vendors hawking fresh pies, children darting around with laughter echoing off the buildings. It did feel good, she admitted. For a little while, I forgot about everything. The cold, the words, the courtroom. Her smile wavered, but she shook it off with a deep breath. Jake's coming over later, right? He mentioned churros from that bakery on Main. Wouldn't miss it for the world, I replied, my heart swelling with a mix of pride and relief. Jake had become more than just an old student or a cop friend these past months. He was family now. That taekwondo keychain he'd given her hung from her purse like a talisman, a reminder that healing started with small steps. And the way he looked at her, gentle, protective, with a hint of something deeper, it made a mother's intuition buzz. As if summoned by the thought, a knock echoed through the apartment. I opened the door to find Jake standing there, out of uniform for once, in faded jeans and a flannel shirt that hugged his broad shoulders. He held a grease-stained paper bag, the scent of cinnamon and sugar wafting out. His smile was easygoing, but those sharp eyes, honed from years on the beat, scanned the room instinctively, always on guard. "Morning, Coach," he said, tipping an invisible hat with a grin. "Brought the churros, fresh from the oven. And I snagged some chocolate eggs. Thought we could do a mini hunt around the place. Keep the tradition alive." Emily's face lit up, a genuine laugh escaping her. "An egg hunt in this tiny apartment. You're on, but don't expect me to go easy on you." We spent the morning in that light-hearted bubble. Jake and I hid the eggs in ridiculous spots, behind the stack of taekwondo manuals on the bookshelf, under the couch cushions, even one tucked into the fridge next to the milk. Emily searched with mock seriousness, her giggles filling the space as she uncovered them one by one. "Gotcha," she'd exclaim, holding up a foil-wrapped chocolate like a trophy. Jake shared stories from his shifts to keep the mood buoyant. The time he chased a shoplifter through a crowded mall, or talking down a heated argument at a family barbecue that reminded him too much of domestic calls gone wrong. He never pressed Emily about her own scars. He just let the conversation flow naturally, giving her space to join in when she felt ready. By afternoon, we ventured back to the square. The three of us walked arm in arm, the spring breeze carrying hints of blooming flowers and street food. Kids splashed in the fountain, their laughter infectious. Vendors called out deals on handmade crafts and sweets. Emily paused at a stall selling fresh-baked pies, her eyes lingering on the golden crusts. "Remember when I used to bake with you, Mom? Apple pies for the holidays." "How could I forget?" I said, squeezing her arm. "You had a knack for it. Maybe it's time to dust off those skills." Jake nodded enthusiastically. "I'd be your first customer." Chicken noodle soup last week was killer. Pie would be next level. She blushed, but there was a flicker of interest in her eyes. For the first time since I'd found her shivering on that porch, I saw a glimpse of the old Emily, the one who dreamed big, who poured love into everything she touched. As the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the square, I felt a profound sense of hope. Justice of the heart had won that round, but I knew life wasn't done testing us. A few days later, as I wrapped up a taekwondo class at the local community center, the kids bowing out with sweaty grins and high fives, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I fished it out, seeing an unknown number with a Boise area code. After a moment's hesitation, I answered, "Ms. Rose, this is Detective Harlan from Boise PD. We need to discuss the Whitlock case." My stomach dropped like a stone. I leaned against the dojo wall, the scent of mats and sweat still heavy in the air. What about it? The trial's long over. They got the divorce, the assets, hell. They got away with everything but a slap on the wrist. A heavy sigh on the other end. New developments, community complaints, media pressure. We're reopening an investigation into judicial misconduct. Your testimony and Officer Jake's could be crucial. I gripped the phone tighter, my knuckles whitening. You mean Harold's influence? The way that Judge tossed our evidence like yesterday's trash? Can't get into specifics over the phone. Can you come down to the station? I agreed, my mind racing. After locking up, I headed straight home. Emily was in the kitchen, flour dusted across the counter, attempting a simple apple pie from one of Jake's old cookbooks. The aroma of cinnamon and butter filled the air, a comforting contrast to the knot in my chest. She looked up with a tentative smile, but it faded when she saw my face. "Mom, what's wrong? Sit down, sweetie." I pulled out a chair, joining her at the table. The police called. They're digging into the Whitlocks again, corruption, maybe even fixing the trial. Her hands froze mid-roll on the dough, color draining from her face. "No, Mom, I can't." The stares in court, the whispers, Ryan's smirk. It's too much. I reached across, covering her hand with mine. You don't have to testify if you don't want to. But think about it, this could be real justice. For you, for others they've hurt. Tears welled in her eyes. I'm scared. What if they come after us? They already won once. They won't touch you. Jake's on our side. And so am I. We're not alone anymore. But even as I said it, doubt crept in. The Whitlocks were like weeds, cut one down, and they sprouted back stronger. That evening, Jake arrived after his shift, still in uniform, carrying takeout from our favorite Chinese place. We filled him in over egg rolls and fried rice, the apartment lit by the soft glow of the lamp. His jaw clenched, that protective fire igniting in his eyes. Harlan's a good detective, straight shooter. If there's dirt on Harold, like backroom deals or bribes, we'll nail him. But Emily, this is your call. No one's pushing you. She poked at her food, thinking, okay, for Mom, and maybe for the part of me that's still angry. The next few weeks turned into a blur of strategy sessions. We met Harlan at the station, a burly man with a mustache that looked like it belonged in an old Western. His office cluttered with case files and cold coffee mugs. He laid out the basics. The viral video had sparked public outcry, leading to anonymous tips. A former court clerk was whispering about Harold's favors to judges. Our Christmas Eve recording, it was back on the table with new legal loopholes. Bank statements showed Ryan diverting funds I'd sent Emily, potential embezzlement. This could blow wide open, Harlan said, tapping a folder. But they'll fight tooth and nail. Media kept the fire stoked. Local news ran segments. Boise's Whitlock scandal, corruption in the courts. Hashtags like justice for Emily trended on social media. The courtroom clip resurfacing with millions of views. Strangers stopped me at the grocery store, offering support. "Hang in there, Ms. Rose," one woman said. "You're a fighter." But the Whitlocks didn't roll over. One night, after a late class, I found my car's tires slashed in the parking lot, 4 precise cuts. No amateur job. No note, but the message was clear. I called Jake. He arrived with a patrol car, lights flashing. "Vandalism with intent," he muttered, snapping photos. "I'll run prints, but they're smart gloves, probably." Emily got hit next. Anonymous texts from burner numbers. "Keep quiet or regret it. You ruined enough, back off." She blocked them, but the fear returned, her baking sessions turning into distractions from nightmares. "They're everywhere," she whispered one night, curled on the couch with tea. "Like shadows." I hugged her tight. "Shadows can't touch us if we shine light on them. We're tougher than this." Jake increased patrols around our block, even crashing on our couch a few nights. "Not letting anything happen to you two," he said, his voice firm but tender. Then a breakthrough. Harlan called early one morning. Whistleblowers talking. Clerk from Harold's old chambers says he rigged multiple cases for political favors. Your trial's the smoking gun. Excitement surged, but so did dread. A grand jury hearing was scheduled. Emily agreed to testify, her therapy with Dr. Carter helping build her resolve. "She's reclaiming her narrative," the doctor said in one session I sat in on. From victim to survivor. In the meantime, Emily dove deeper into baking. She started small pies for neighbors, then a stall at the weekend market. Emily's Comfort Pies, she called it, the name a nod to the warmth she'd lost and found again. Customers raved. "This apple pie tastes like home." Her confidence grew, flour-dusted hands, a symbol of rebirth. But tension peaked when Abigail showed up unannounced, pounding on our door like a storm. I opened it to the chain, peering out. "What the hell do you want?" Abigail stood there, arms crossed, designer purse slung over her shoulder, lips curled in disdain. "To talk to Emily. Family matter, none of your business, old woman. She's not your family. Scram before I call the cops." Emily stepped forward, voice steady despite the tremble in her hands. "Abigail, go. We're done with your poison." Abigail's eyes flashed. "You think you can destroy us? Dad's got connections. You'll be buried in lawsuits. Ryan's already planning." She spun on her heel, heels clicking away, but her threat hung heavy. Jake investigated, but no charges stuck yet. "Harassment," he said, building the case. The grand jury day arrived, the courthouse, a familiar beast. Emily and I walked in hand, her chin high. The Whitlocks were there. Harold stoic in his suit, Evelyn with her icy glare, Ryan fidgety, Abigail whispering venom. Jake sat in the gallery, uniform crisp, nodding encouragement. The prosecutor painted the picture. Judicial tampering, evidence suppression, Harold's web of influence. James, our lawyer, replayed the recording, Ryan's sneers, Evelyn's dismissals, Abigail's barbs echoing in the room. Emily took the stand, voice clear. They called me useless, Baron, threw me out in 32-degree cold, mocked my miscarriages like jokes. But I'm here stronger. Defense tried twisting, exaggerating for sympathy, but she fired back. No, I lost 4 children. They turned my grief into weapons. The room murmured approval. Harold's composure cracked, sweat beading on his brow. Indictments came. Obstruction, fraud for Harold and Ryan. Assets frozen, bail set high. Media exploded, Whitlock downfall, corruption charges stick. We celebrated modestly pizza at home, Jake popping a soda. To real justice, he toasted. Emily hugged him. To new beginnings. The following months brought peace, laced with growth. Emily's pie business boomed, orders for holidays. Even a feature in the local paper. From heartbreak to homemade, Boise woman's rise. Therapy continued, scars fading. Jake and Emily grew closer, dates at cozy diners, walks in the square, whispers of future plans. One snowy Christmas Eve, a year later, Jake knelt by our twinkling tree. Emily, you've shown me what strength looks like. Will you marry me? Tears, a yes, a ring sparkling. The wedding was simple. Gazebo in the square, spring flowers blooming, friends and community there. No Whitlocks, Harold behind bars, Ryan disgraced, family scattered. At 66, still coaching, but with more time for them. Grandkids, adoption talks bubbled. Family was us, resilient, loving. This story's fictional, inspired by real pain. If you're watching, like, subscribe, comment. What would you do? Share how far this reaches. God bless, courage lights the way. The wedding day dawned clear and bright in Boise. The kind of spring morning that made the Snake River Valley feel alive with promise. The gazebo in the main square had been draped in soft white tulle and clusters of lilacs, their scent mingling with the fresh-cut grass and distant aroma of street vendors already firing up their grills. It wasn't extravagant, no string quartet, no 5-tier cake, but it was perfect for us. A handful of friends from the dojo, a few neighbors who'd watched Emily's pie stand grow from a folding table to a small local favorite, Detective Harlan in a rare off-duty suit, and a couple of Jake's fellow officers who clapped him on the back like brothers. No Whitlocks. Their absence felt like the final closing of a heavy door. Emily stood under the gazebo arch, wearing a simple cream dress that skimmed her knees, her hair loose with tiny white flowers woven through it. She looked radiant, not the fragile girl I'd carried out of the cold a year and a half earlier, but a woman who'd fought her way back to herself. When she saw Jake waiting at the end of the short aisle in his dress uniform, polished boots gleaming, her eyes shimmered. He smiled the way only he could, steady, warm, like he was anchoring the whole world just by standing there. I walked her down the path of scattered petals, my hand on her arm, fighting the lump in my throat. At 66, I'd coached national champions, stared down bullies on and off the mat, but nothing prepared me for giving my daughter away to a man who deserved her. When the officiant asked who gave this woman, I managed a horse. Her mother does, with all my heart. The ceremony was short and honest. Vows they'd written themselves. Jake promised to stand beside her through every storm, to never let her feel small again. Emily promised to keep choosing joy, to let him see her scars without shame, to build a home where love didn't come with conditions. Rings slid on fingers, a kiss that drew soft cheers from the small crowd, and suddenly it was done. Married, safe, loved. Afterward, we lingered in the square, eating slices of Emily's own lemon blueberry wedding pie from paper plates, laughing as kids from the neighborhood darted between legs begging for seconds. Jake pulled me aside near the fountain. "Coach," he said quietly, "thank you for trusting me with her, for everything." I squeezed his shoulder hard. "You take care of my girl, or I'll put you through the mats myself." He grinned. Wouldn't dream of anything less. That evening, back in the apartment, now feeling too small for all the happiness it held, Emily changed into jeans and one of Jake's old hoodies. We sat on the couch with mugs of tea, the three of us, watching the city lights come on through the window. She leaned her head on Jake's shoulder, fingers laced with his. "I never thought I'd get here," she said softly. "A year ago, I was sure I'd never feel safe again. Never feel wanted." Jake kissed the top of her head. "You're more than wanted. You're everything." I watched them, my chest tight with a gratitude so big it hurt. This was the real victory, not courtroom wins or newspaper headlines, but quiet nights like this one. Summer rolled in warm and slow. Emily's pie business kept growing. She rented a tiny commercial kitchen space downtown, hired a part-time helper named Mia, a college student who loved baking almost as much as Emily did. Orders came in for farmers markets, office parties, even a small wedding. She named new flavors after pieces of her journey: Second Chance Apple, Cinnamon Strength, Hope Blueberry. Customers started asking for her story. She told it in bits and pieces. Never the full darkness, but enough that people left with more than pie. They left with a little courage. Jake and Emily moved into a small house on the edge of town, a fixer-upper with a big backyard and room for a garden. I helped them paint walls on weekends, my old coaching hands surprisingly good with a roller. The first night in their new place, we grilled burgers in the backyard, fireflies blinking in the dusk. Emily rested her head against Jake's chest and said, "This is home," Real home, I nodded, throat thick. Yeah, it is. Fall brought the first whispers of change. Emily started feeling off, tired in a way that wasn't just long hours at the kitchen, queasy in the mornings. At first, she brushed it off as stress, but when it didn't pass, Jake quietly bought a test. 2 pink lines appeared almost instantly. They told me over dinner at my place. Emily's hands shook as she slid the test across the table. Mom, we're pregnant. I stared at the little stick, then at her face, terrified, hopeful, glowing all at once. 4 miscarriages had taught her caution, taught her to brace for loss. But this time felt different. The doctors confirmed it early, monitored closely. Every ultrasound was a small miracle. I went with them to every appointment, holding her hand when the wand moved across her belly, watching the tiny heartbeat flicker on the screen like a promise kept. Jake became a different kind of protector, carrying extra pillows, researching every old wives' tale, massaging her feet after long days. Emily baked less in the 3rd trimester, but she still made 1 pie a week for me. Grandma's waiting pie, she called it, even though we didn't know the gender yet. Winter returned, softer this time. Christmas Eve found us in their living room, tree lights twinkling, a fire crackling low. Emily was due any day, her belly round under an oversized sweater. We opened small gifts, booties I'd knitted badly, but with love. A tiny taekwondo gi from Jake, for when they're ready to spar with Grandma. At midnight, snow began to fall outside the window, fat flakes catching the streetlights. Emily winced, hand going to her back. I think maybe it's time. The hospital was quiet, the maternity ward decorated with paper snowflakes. Hours passed in a blur of contractions, breathing exercises, Jake never leaving her side. I paced the hallway, whispering prayers I hadn't said since I was a girl. At 4:17 a.m., a cry pierced the air, strong, indignant, perfect. A nurse came out smiling. Healthy boy, Mom's doing great. They let me in first. Emily lay exhausted, but beaming, the baby cradled against her chest. Dark hair, tiny fists, eyes already searching. Jake sat beside her, tears streaking his face, one arm around them both. His name is Liam, Emily whispered. After your old coach, the one who taught you to never give up. I touched his cheek, soft as velvet. Hey, little man, welcome to the fight. The months that followed were a beautiful chaos. Diapers, midnight feedings, first smiles. Liam had Emily's eyes and Jake's stubborn chin. He gripped my finger with surprising strength, already a fighter. Emily healed slowly, physically and emotionally. Some nights she still woke crying from old dreams, but Jake was there, holding her until the shadows retreated. Therapy continued. Scars don't vanish, but they fade. One spring afternoon, when Liam was 6 months